rock on.
All of the rock, all of the time. 24 hours a day on your smart device and online.
Who are you?
Yeah, we're good. Right, next episode, who's the band? We're here with Jack from Hastings Superstars, I think, Kid Kapichi, and superstar of Hastings Rock, Andy Gunton.
I'm not in the band. I hope you realise that.
Not yet.
Well, you're the roadie anyway. Well, thanks very much for giving us your time.
You're more than welcome.
And yeah, I mean, why are you in Kid Kapichi? How did you pick up music? Why are you doing it?
I don't think I would say the same. I don't think I really felt like I had a choice. Hastings is such a musical town, and I think it kind of runs through the veins of a lot of people who live here. And for me, it was just never really a choice. I always wanted to do music when I was a kid. Like, that was my dream job. So I'm one of those lucky people that gets to say I do my dream job, which is amazing.
Did you want to sing, or did you want to play an instrument?
I wanted to play guitar. And it wasn't until I started writing my own songs that I wanted to start singing. When I was just like playing other people's songs and first started the band, and it was, you know, we were just like kind of writing music together, I didn't feel that precious about them. But then you start to feel precious about your own music, and then I started wanting to sing. So that came after.
Because no one else was better than you? Or?
Well, no, I would say most people in Kapichi are better singers than me. but it just kind of worked. It kind of worked, and we went with it.
So what do you listen to at home?
So much stuff. I'm not a snobby music person at all. I think if it's good, it's good. I mean, I grew up listening to like The Clash, The Specials, Madness, bands that we've got to work with, which is crazy. Everything from that to Pink Floyd, Oasis, Arctic Monkeys, like, you know, a big eclectic taste, but also we'll listen to like Bob Dylan, Simon Garfunkel, ABBA. Do you know what I mean? Like anything, if it's good, it's good.
That's good. That's a musical education.
That's it. If it's good, it's good. And the Beatles are probably my favourite band ever. So, but yeah, I grew up with just listening to everything. If it's good, I'll listen to it. Even if it's shit, I'll listen to it. Are you allowed to swear? No swearing.
Well, it's too late now.
Even if it's really bad, I'll listen to it. You can bleep that out.
So Andy's been around a while, hasn't he? He's sort of, I don't know. Have you been a manager to start with? No. You've been on all the tours now. You've been a driver.
So many people think that I was, but I always state categorically, I was never the manager. Just the driver on many occasions. And funnily enough, you sent me, you've just been on tour, haven't you, around the UK, and Jack sent me a picture from a service station in the Lake District, and he said, I have a funny feeling this is the one we stopped back 2016.
Yeah, Kendall Calling.
And we did a 4-day tour, didn't we? It was the Ice Cream single.
Yes.
And we did Brighton on Thursday night, then we had the launch party at the Albion on the Saturday, then on the Friday, and on Saturday we're in Manchester. I remember this stuff.
No, I remember doing it. I couldn't remember. I don't remember doing Manchester, but
really.
Well, you're the driver. You should remember.
Right? Yeah, I was the sober one.
Where do we play in Manchester?
Oh, I can't remember the name of the
Me
club.
neither, but that sounds right.
I remember trying to reverse up this horrible little alleyway, and that really old band. I don't know if you remember the band.
Yeah.
No, supposedly we weren't allowed to smoke in it.
Oh yeah.
I had to leave it on the road with the windows open.
They always say that. Yeah.
So, but we ended up in Kendall Calling Festival in the Lake District, and coming home, and we stopped at this service station which had a fast food restaurant in it. Yeah. And these guys had been partying the night before because it was the last date of that little mini tour, and I don't think any of us got any sleep because it's one day I was allowed to have something. So.
I remember it being freezing cold in Kendall.
It's Lake District.
Yeah, and it was like we were like idiots. We still are, but like we had no like real touring experience, and we were like, oh, we'll go up to Kendall. It's nice weather in Hastings, so I didn't pack a sleeping bag or anything, and I just slept on the floor of the tent, freezing, like so insanely cold. And the only jumper I used to dry my hair, which I had long hair at the time. I used my jumper to dry it, so that was like frozen as well. So
luckily it didn't rain.
Luckily it didn't rain.
We were very lucky with that.
It was one that I really remember well. It's weird because there's so many that you do and they kind of slip your memory, but I remember that really well. And I guess that kind of felt like the beginning of being like, you know, doing further afield gigs and stuff.
I think it was for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew you before, obviously.
Yeah, of course,
but,
ages before.
Yeah. But that was the sort of time when things started to move a little bit more realistically or whatever.
I would still say it took another good 2 or 3 years after that before it made like real sense.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the beginning of, like you said, feeling like it was moving anywhere.
One thing I always remember was the song 2019.
That was my marker as well.
Yeah. And I always remember that I saw it before it was recorded, or when you recorded it, but it hadn't been released, so no one had heard it, you hadn't played it live. And each one of you, I bumped into you at a gig or somewhere, and each one of you came up to me and said, Andy, we've got this amazing song. It's the song. And as you say, for me, it was that transitional period.
That's it, because a lot of people say to us, like, oh, you guys have been in the band for so long. It's like, I always just think, we could have easily like restarted the band and called it a different name and it'd been a new band. So there's been so many different like iterations of what we are. And I think, you know, the one that feels like this band now was 2019. And that's kind of when I'm like, when people say, oh, you've been in a band like for 10 years or longer, it's like, we played music together for that amount of time, but this real version of Kapichi, I think, started in like 2018, 2019.
I think that song was the first of the real political type song.
It was the first one that I started like really writing, and I felt like I had something to say at that point. So, and that's when I started singing properly, like you know, doing it rather than just Ben or me and Ben. Then it was just me. So yeah, that was kind of like, that always felt like the beginning for me, and that was the first song that got on the radio and like proper like BBC radio sort of thing. And
Tom
it was
Robinson, I remember.
oh yeah, no, I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. To us, it was like like proper. No, but like, you know, when it's like you're getting played on like prime time craziness, like you did not expect it at all. And I think that was like a really big moment hearing ourselves on Radio 1. We were like, well, like, it's still cool now when we're
I think 2019 also, apart from the song, that year was the year that things really took off as well.
Yeah, it was.
I always remember being, when you did another tour supporting Calva Louise.
Yeah,
and I was in Manchester for something.
Yeah.
And then I came over to Liverpool to see you a couple of days later. And that was the day that you heard from Frank Carter.
It was. I think it was basically 2018, or just right at the beginning of 2019. We did that tour with Calva Louise. Then Frank Carter heard it. Then we went on tour with Frank Carter, and that was the beginning of everything happening.
I remember that tour well.
Yeah. We saw you in Hamburg, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Paris, Amsterdam.
But yeah, in answer to the question, Andy was not our manager, but he's always been just a really good
Has he
friend.
been the dad of the band?
I wouldn't even say dad, more brother. He's been a brother. He's been a brother.
Right answer,
And he
eh?
continues to be. He continues to be.
Yeah, they've always treated me, when I've been there, very respectfully, considering I'm older than most of their parents.
Yeah, we don't act any differently around you than we would if it was just us.
And that's the point I was going to make. You know, because Jack's is younger than my son. So all the band are younger than my kids, sort of thing. But they've always treated
can
me
be different,
as
right?
one of the band, or as just, you know.
100%.
Yeah. So it's just
Brothers.
very good. Yeah.
You just said you've got all these different incarnations of the band. What's your favourite period? What's your favourite time? Is it now?
It's a good question, actually. I think that was probably one of my real favourite times, like 2019, because that was when it was really exciting, and it was felt like everything we wrote just made sense at the time. And I think that iteration continues up till now. I still think that we are still at the end of that period of time, and I think all the new stuff that no one's heard yet, that we've been working on and getting done, is the new iteration. And it's definitely, what we're doing now feels like quite a big shift, I would say. And I have no idea what people are going to think of it, but all I can say is that every song I've ever written with Kapichi has normally been like looking outwards and like the world around and how that's, you know, what's going on. And this new stuff that we've been working on, that's done really, was just looking inwards, completely looking inwards, and kind of quite selfishly just all about me, I think. You know, so that's going to be exciting to hear what people think of it. I think it's more mature, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people think. But I think this is a turning point now, or you know, a year ago when I started writing it.
Do you do all the writing, or is it a joint effort?
So it's a joint effort. It's some songs. In the past, it was very much me and Ben. Me and Ben would write together the song top to bottom. Sometimes he'd write songs completely on his own. Sometimes I'd write songs completely on my own. However, now it's much more like the guys, Ben, George and Eddie, will write instrumentals and record instrumentals, even if it's just 10 seconds or 20 seconds, and they'll send me like 20 of them, and I'll go, I really like this one, really like this one, really like this one, and then they'll carry on writing those instrumentally. But then when it comes to lyrics and melody and stuff, that's either me or me and Ben getting in a room and doing that together. Ben's really good with the melody side of stuff, and we'll sit down and he'll help do that. Lyrics normally start with my ideas and are primarily me, but Ben also plays a big role in that as well. So it's always been me and Ben, like, a lot. Lyrics come from me. Me and Ben do a lot of the lyrics and the melody together, but it's definitely everyone has their part to play for sure.
Can I just say something? I mean, as I said, I've known you. I think I first met you as a band or as a person in late 2012 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And I heard some of your very, very early stuff in a completely different iteration, as you know.
Yeah.
But even then, the lyrics were, and you were like 18 years old or 19 years old, and George was younger. The lyrics were one of the things that, as much as I like the music, and I've liked all the music in the different iterations throughout, but the lyrics have always been the thing for me that have made you stand above other people.
I think
very, very clever, very intelligent.
I think it's always been the most important thing for me. That's why, like, I take so much time on the lyrics. Most important thing for me. Everything's important, but like, you get people who are like guitar people and they just want to hear someone play a solo, and you get drummers who are like just want to hear the rhythm, and then you get singers and lyricists who, like, you know. And for me, I'm a lyricist. Like that's what I really care about, and I think even in the earliest stages, like, I really cared a lot about it. I would never want to put out a song that I just thought was like not saying anything. Do you know what I mean? So
where does the inspiration come from? I mean, obviously there's political stuff, but just generally, when you say that it's changed, and I'm sorry, I'm taking over your job.
You're all right.
But I haven't heard the new songs either. So you say you're being more introspective.
Yeah.
So where does that come from? Is that from experience, what you're reading and experiencing?
It was just how I was feeling last year. I had like a really weird year last year where I just felt like I learned so much about myself, stuff that I probably should have learned a long time ago, and it kind of all came out at once. And I had a really horrible year, to be honest, and I feel amazing now. I feel better than ever. Like, I feel like I really understand what I'm doing and, you know, happy. But at that time, I would say it's the worst I've ever felt. So the last thing I wanted to do was write any music, but I forced myself to do it, and I thought it was rubbish at the time, and I just questioned everything. I thought, this is rubbish, no one's going to like this. And then when I came out of that storm cloud, I now listen to it and I'm like, this is the best stuff I've ever written. And everyone who's heard it has been like, this is insane.
Yeah.
So
it
was like, it's weird listening back to it and being like, wow, that's how I felt. Even it's so weird, like, you can, you know, when you feel really down, it's hard to remember ever feeling good, and when you feel really good, it's hard to remember that you ever felt down. And it's kind of like, listening back to that just reminds me of like how grateful I am that I feel better now, sort of.
So there's that whole thing about men not talking about stuff, isn't
it? Yeah. Well, I actually, a lot of this came from me talking about it with some of my friends that we never used to talk about stuff like that.
Well, you know, that friend who we sadly lost a couple of years ago, I know, was Jimmy Riddle, was a huge influence on you and a huge friend on you. And I know he had his problems, obviously.
Yeah.
So did that sort of spark something in
Of course, I think so. I think it did in everyone. In Hastings,
made you think about things.
Of all men of our age, sort of thing. And I think it was when one of my friends last year, I'm very close with, who we've never had that relationship where we talk about that. One day, sat me down and was like, "We need to talk about and I was like, "Oh my god, if you're saying that to me, I must really need to do something." That was the time that I wrote that whole lot of music that will be coming next, and I'm really excited for it. Really excited.
I think that's brilliant because you've had those conversations, you've been brave enough to have those conversations, and now you'll be sharing that with someone else who might then have those conversations.
Absolutely,
with someone else.
Yeah, I hope so.
Plus, it didn't go wasted either.
That's
although
it.
it was a sad event.
That's how I feel. Because it's like I could have sat there and done nothing, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do absolutely nothing, but it's like the worst period of my life has become something that is a real tangible thing now that I'm really proud of. So you can't really ask for more than that.
So how will it feel live on stage singing some of those songs? I remember you singing the Jimmy song, and when I first heard that, I think you gave it to me well before the album came out, and I remember saying to Julie, my partner, I don't know how he's ever going to sing that on stage if he ever did, but he did. Which is a brave thing to do as well, I think.
Yeah, it's hard, don't get me wrong, but you know what you have to do? You just have to completely turn off.
Yeah.
Don't think about any of the lyrics, don't picture anything. It's almost like you've got to perform it so many times and practice it so many times that it becomes muscle memory and you're numb to it. You want everyone else to be not numb to it, but you want to be numb to it because otherwise but it does still get you sometimes. It does still get you sometimes when you think about, you just catch your brain drifting off and actually thinking about it. It's tough, but it should be tough. So it's hard work for sure.
That's what music's about, right?
Exactly.
It's meant to touch, and it's meant to, make you feel a certain way.
Of course, yeah.
And if it, brings out the good in someone, then
absolutely. It's there's a few songs that make me feel like that, and for me it feels like that song isn't for me anymore. It's like everyone else's song. So I kind of feel like I have a sort of duty to not mess it up.
Well, I think lots of people, you were saying about people in the audience or people who've heard the record, will have their own Jimmys, won't they? Will know someone like that. And in an age of so much inane pop rubbish, which is just stupid lyrics, just trying to please demographics and things like that, when you get bands like yourselves who are singing about real life events and stuff like that and going inwards, I think that's good.
Yeah, I agree. That's always the aim.
So what's the tip to anyone trying to start out?
So there's no one.
Everyone's answer's different. That's why I love that question. Of course.
For me, it was always, we are a live band. So we focused on being a live band. And no matter, this is what I see all the time, no matter how many streams you get on Spotify or social media and stuff, normally that doesn't necessarily translate to tickets sold. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what really matters and how you can judge a real fan base is by how many people buy tickets to your shows. If they buy a ticket to your show, they're probably going to buy your album, they're probably going to listen to your music. But just because they watch your TikToks or your Instagrams doesn't mean they're going to come to your shows. So for us, it's always been be the best live band we can possibly be, which I don't think's unusual to grow up in Hastings, where it's all about live music, and just try and build that fan base. Because if you build that fan base, that are people who come to your shows, you get to know them, they become friends, they become family, they're loyal fans, and it's very hard to break that. So my advice would just be really work on your craft as a live musician and make it about that if you can, and just try and get people excited about your shows. Try and do things as differently as you possibly can. We used to, when we got our first ever shows in Brighton and London, we'd rent a coach and sell tickets to people in Hastings. We're like, we'll just bring Hastings with us. Yeah. And it's if you can show up there with 40 people that are all love you, then everyone in London's going to start going, what the hell, who's this band? We just tried to do things as cleverly as we could. But I just say focus on being a live band, don't overplay, pick your shows carefully, promote them well, and you'll build a fan base, and then the rest will come. I think it's different for everyone.
Well, I think that's all. Thanks very much.
Thanks
for
very
your
much.
time. And,
sorry for saying
we had fun.
sorry for saying real radio. I mean, this is real radio as well.
We'll cut that out.
Yeah, cut that out. Bleep the swearing. Yeah, perfect.
You did an interview for me once, and you came into the Hastings Rock studio. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I did.
That was about 10 years ago.
And I won the
Studio, was
tickets.
Perfect.
Of all the songs you've written, which is your favourite?
I'd say New England still is probably my favourite. I just think it like does exactly what I set out for it to do. Like sometimes you can start writing a song with an intention, and by the end of it, it's not what you wanted it to be at the start. It's like cooking a meal or something. You start adding different ingredients, and you're like, it was meant to be this, but it's this, and I still like it, but it's not what I wanted it to be. And with New England, it was like that was exactly what I wanted it to be from the start, and it kind of worked. But there's loads of songs that I like for different reasons, but I would say like whenever people say to me like, what's your favourite song, that's probably the one I pick, I think, of the stuff that's been released. Anyway, yeah. Nice one. Thanks
you very
guys.
much.
No
Thank you.
problem.